testng annotations we need to discuss today. What are all testng annotations? At the rate before suit, at the rate after suit, at the rate before test, at the rate after test, at the rate before groups, at the rate after groups, at the rate before class, at the rate after class, at the rate before method, and at the rate after method, at the rate data provider, and we have one more at the rate parameters. So these are the testng annotations. So let's understand one by one. So what is mean by before suit and all the before related and after related annotations. So before suit is this annotated method will be run before all tests in this suit have run. What do you mean by this? The annotated method will be run before all tests in this suit have run. What is meant by suit? Suit is nothing but a collection of test cases. In each testng class, there are @test methods. So the suit means, suppose you assume that 50 test cases are there in the suit. This suit, before you want to execute some code, that code you can put under this annotation. That suit test method execution before, first this before suit code will execute. Public void before suit, write the precondition code for that suit. That suit, before you want to execute some code, you can use this before suit. So simple before suit, public void before suit, parenthesis, curly braces start, write the precondition code for the suit. Suit means a collection of test cases. And those collection of test cases, before you want to execute something, you will use a before suit. Next, after suit. What is meant by after suit? The annotated method will be run after all the tests in this suit have run. The annotated method will be run after all tests in this suit have run. Okay, your suit test cases are executed. After that, what you want to execute? Maybe clean up code, maybe collecting the logs. This kind of things if you want to do, and you can use this after suit annotation. And public void after suit parenthesis curly braces start, write the post condition related actions in this suit. That's a after suit means. Before talking about before test, I want to explain one more. There is a testng documentation. Very nice documentation is there. testng.org website is there. You can go and understand this testng documentation. This is the testng documentation. So we need a testng.xml. A testng.xml is the suit file. In testng, what is the suit file? testng.xml is the suit file. So XML file is the suit file in testng. So what are the tags will be there? XML means tags. HTML also tags, right? HTML is a fixed tags will be there, and XML you can create a customized tags. That's the difference between HTML and XML. And here in the XML file, first your starts with the declaration. Okay, XML declaration. This is the declaration. Then suit tag will be there. Then name of attribute and name value, verbose value, and test tag name equal to the name of the test, classes and class tag. Class name equal to no package test. So this is the hierarchy: suit tag, test tag, then classes tag inside. You can mention individual class names, which class you want to run. That class you can mention with a class tag, and the test tag is ending. One more test if you want, and you can write one more test tag and name attribute equal to value. In the web element theory class, I explained the attributes syntax. Attribute name equal to, within double quotes, attribute value will be there. That's the same structure we are following here also. Then this test tag inside classes, again classes, class tag name equal to package dot class name. One more class also you want to include under this test. Class tag name equal to package dot class name. Then close the classes tag, close the test tag, close the suit tag. So this is the complete suit syntax. And what are the tags will be there? First suit tag, then test tag, classes tag, then classes tag inside. Each individual class you will represent with a class tag. Then attribute must be there. In every tag there is a name attribute. Okay, what is the name of that tag? You have to give name of that tag, particular tag. So you can write one test tag, or otherwise you want to write more test tag, you can write more test tag. Each test tag inside classes tag will be there. This is the how you can write an XML suit file. This is the suit file format. So you can specify the package names also instead of class names. So how can you specify suit tag name equal to suit verbose 1, test tag name equal to regression 1, packages below a package name this test.sample. The package name completely I'm giving. So in that package, what are all the classes are there? All will run. You don't need to specify one by one individually like this. This package inside, how many classes are there? All will execute. That's the package concept. Either you can use a package or you can use a classes tag. Classes tag also you can use. Any one is fine. But mostly we'll use classes. But this is the interview question. So how can you mention packages in the suit file? So this is the format. Suit tag name equal to suit name, test tag name equal to so the test name, then packages packages below individual package name equal to you give the package name in double quotes. Then close the packages tag, close the test tag, close the suit tag. So that's opening all the tags here, and from here onwards inner to outer tags you are closing. So this is the complete suit file, right? So this suit file, please understand this. This is the one test tag, and this is another test tag. Why I'm explaining this XML file is if you want to understand before test annotation, you need this concept. That's why I'm explaining. Okay. Now let's go to before test now. So what is before test? This annotated method will be run before any test method belonging to the classes inside the test tag is run. See that? This test tag related class test tags before test code will execute. Then once the before test code is executed, Then it will come to test tag inside. The classes test methods will execute one by one. If class 1 is there, that class 1. Then one more class is that class. All classes will finish. But before entering into this test tag inside, first before test code will execute. Then once this test tag is done, then it will execute after test. So after test means the annotated method will be run after all the test methods belonging to the classes inside the test tag have run. After completing all the classes inside the test tag, then after test will execute. After test will execute. This is the test tag level. This before test to after test is test tag level. In under one test tag, you can have multiple classes, multiple testng classes. And here, before test and after test will repeat how many test tags you have. Suppose here you understand 2 test tags are there. First, before test will execute, first execution before of no package test. Then cursor will come to this no package test inside. All the test cases will execute here. Then immediately the test tag is ending here. So then cursor will go to after test annotation because this test tag is completed. Now the cursor will move to after test annotation. Okay, again you have one more test. Again cursor will go to before test. Then it will after before test code, and this will come inside the test tag, regression test tag inside it will come, and each class it will execute. So class 1, class 2 will execute, then this test tag is ended. Then cursor will go to after test. So that means before test is repeating for every test tag, and after test is repeating after the test tag classes execution after test is executed. That means, so before test tag inside classes, then after test. If one more test tag is there, again cursor goes to before test annotation. Then second test tag related classes test methods will execute. Then comes inside of this test tag, all classes will execute. Then the test tag is over. Then it will go to after test annotation. So that means it is repeating every test tag, this before test annotation. After test tag completes, then cursor is going to after test annotation. This is the before test and after test. Right? Is it clear or any questions? Before going to the next annotation, before groups. Okay. The list of groups that this configuration method will be run before. That means you have a groups in your test cases. You categorized your test cases. And maybe you categorized some test cases as a smoke, regression, and sanity test cases. Now, smoke group before you want to execute some piece of code, then you can use this before groups annotation. And this before groups annotation is annotation name, public void, the method name. Method name you can write anything, curly braces, and code here, curly braces end. That's a before groups. And after groups means after completely executing smoke group, then after groups will execute. The list of groups that this configuration method will run after that group. all smoke test cases will execute. A smoke group before groups will execute. Then smoke group test cases will execute. After completing smoke group test cases, the cursor will come to after groups. This method is guaranteed to run shortly after the last test method that belongs to any of these groups is invoked. That's after groups. So after groups annotation, public void after groups. Okay, after your group test cases, what code you want to write? That code you can write here under after groups annotation. And next one is a before class. A before class we have seen in the unit also. Before all is nothing but a before class. The annotated method will be run before the first test method in the current class is invoked. This before class is per class. Before class is only for current class. Current class test method execution before, first before class code will execute, then it will go to test method. So public void before class, parenthesis, curly braces, a precondition code for a test. So particular class, not for all the classes. Particular class test method execution before what you want to execute, that code you can write under before class annotation. Then after class, this annotated method will be run after all the test methods in the current class have been run. Current class, all the test methods are run completely. Then after class code will execute, but both will execute at one time only. This before class and after class. It won't repeat like a before test to after test. Before test will repeat for every test tag, and before class is for current class inside test tags before this before class executes, but one time only. And we have seen that in the theme, before all is nothing but before class. After all is nothing but after class here. Now, after class, the annotated method will be run after all the test methods in the current class have been run, and this after class annotation code will execute. Basically, cleanup code, you will do that. Cleanup activities you will do in the after class. And at the before method, the annotated method will be run before each test method. Before method. Before method is in testng. In JUnit, same functionality is given by before each. Before each is nothing but before method. The before method annotation will be run before each test method. Before each test method. Before method, so we can write public void setup method. Curly braces, precondition code for every test code. You want to repeat some piece of code for every test method, you can use before method. Then after method, the annotated method will be run after each test method. So after method, after method, public void tear down and destroy code, you can do that. This is the after method annotation. So this is a before method and after method. Each test method before method code will execute, then test method, then after method. If one more test is there, cursor automatically comes to a before method inside. Then this before method will execute, then it will go to second test method, and test method after method will be executed. Then what is the difference between before method and before test?
So before method will execute before each test method actually. Before test in having some test tag is there. So the test tag will execute first.
Yeah, test tag before test annotation will execute. Test tag, that's a point you need to tell. Test tag inside many testng classes will be there. All these testng classes before, how many classes you included in the testng tag? Test tag before test code will execute. Then one by one class will execute. Then that test tag over, one more test tag is there. First test tag after all the classes after test will execute. Then second test tag is there. One more time before test annotation will execute. Then second test tag inside classes will execute one by one. Then immediately after test tag, it will go to after test annotation. Clearly, this is the interview question, guys. What is the difference between before test and before method? Before test is test tag related. Before method is @test method related. In one class, many @test methods. But before method, each test method before method will execute. Each test method, @test method before method will execute. Then @test method will execute. Then @after method. And one more test is there in the current class. Cursor will go to before method first, then second test method, then after method. Same thing I have shown you practically in the JUnit. What you understand there then? So again repeating, before test is test tag level. Before method is @test method level. Particular test method. Test tag means many classes. Classes below again you have many test cases, right? @test methods. So it doesn't bother about before test. Entire class. The test tag before test will execute. Then cursor will come to one by one test class in the test tag inside. How many classes you included? All the classes will be executed. Then it will go to after test. One more test tag is there. Again, cursor will go to before test. That means it is repeating for every test tag. That's a before test. But before method, particular class inside, every test method before method is executing. Is this clear now, or anybody having doubt again? The problem is you people won't respond, won't ask doubts at the rate data provider. At the rate data provider annotation is used to supply a data for our at the rate test method. Data provider annotation is used to provide a data for the test method. Test data you want to give for our test methods, you can use a data provider annotation. And also it is used to do a data driven testing. You can do data driven testing with data provider annotation. The annotated method must return an object two-dimensional array. In Java, we have seen two-dimensional array, where each object can be assigned the parameter list of the test method. Each object can be assigned the parameter list of the test method. The @test method that wants to receive data from this data provider needs to use data provider name equals to the name of this annotation. So you can give a name for this annotation, that name, or you can use the method name. Data provider annotation method name also you can use to map the test method and data provider annotation. So how a test method I can understand. So in the class, you might have more than one @test method. Which test method you want to supply this data? You have to map them like this. So I'll show you. This is the example. Just public class data provider demo @data provider parenthesis name equal to, you can give the name of the data provider. Any name you can pass. Or you don't want to give this name concept, without name also you can create a data provider annotation and public, and this returns a object two-dimensional array. Then method name you write. Method name parenthesis curly braces object two-dimensional array data equal to new object rows and columns. Rows and columns. That's a two-dimensional object syntax, right? And two-dimensional object syntax. Data type, two square brackets, array name equal to new object, rows and columns you have to give. How many rows, how many columns are there? Object two-dimensional array and array name equal to new object, rows and columns. So what is meant by rows and what is meant by columns? So where you will get these values, rows, columns, values. So rows tells you number of times test has to be executed. How many times you want to execute your test case? That number of times count is the rows count. How many sets of data you are giving, that is your rows count. And columns count is the, in @test method, the number of parameters in the test method. Number of parameters, you will create a @test method, right? That @test method parenthesis inside, how many parameters are there? That parameters count is the your columns count. Is it clear? Rows count and columns count, how you get? Rows count is number of times you want to repeat your test case. Number of sets of data you are giving, that count is the rows count, and columns count is number of parameters in your test method, that count is the your columns count. Suppose I want to do a data driven test for with the different usernames and passwords. Then what is the columns count? Did you get my question? I want to do a data driven test for a login scenario. In the login scenario, what will be the parameters?
So two parameters, username and password.
That's the answer. Username, password, two parameters. So your columns count will be 2. And rows count is how many usernames, passwords you are passing. For example, I want to pass 5 usernames, passwords. Then 5 will be the rows count. That means 5 sets of usernames, passwords you have to give. That means the test case will repeat 5 times. Each time one set of data I will take, log in and do the validations and come back. Second set of data will take automatically from this data provider annotation. And that's how the data driven testing can be done with the data provider annotation. And here is a simple example I'm giving here. And object to two-dimensional array, data equal to new object, 3 rows and 2 columns. That means 3 times 3 sets of usernames, passwords I'm giving. That's my rows count. And obviously the number of parameters in the login scenario always going to be 2 only. One is username, second parameter is password. Fixed the columns count in login scenario anywhere. So 2 parameters only will pass. So this is the column count is 2. Now first row, I'm storing data. I'm storing data in the data provider annotation. So array name, first row, first column, username 1. Array name, first row, second column, password 1. The column is completed. Once the column is completed, what will happen? It will move to second row, right? And data, second row, first column, username 2. Array name, second row, second column, password 2. So second set of data is done. And third row, data, second row, first column, username 3, and data, third row, second column, password 3. So you set the data, 3 rows. 3 rows data you set it, and return data. Return this array, two-dimensional array object. So then I got all the data stored in the data provider annotation. Now I will provide to my test method. Which test method you want to give this data? So this is the one how you can map your data provider and to the test method. @test bracket data provider keyword you have to use. Data provider keyword you have to use, then give the data provider name or data provider method name. If you give the name for the data provider, you pass the name here. Then this test method will understand, okay, my data is available in this data provider, and it will go and pick the data for the username and password from here. That's a mapping between data provider and test method. So this is the mapping how it will happen. So each time first set of data will come and store in this parameter 1, and parameter 1, username 1 and password 1 will come and store here. And whatever the code you are writing inside, these values, the username value will come. You will use parameter only, right? While writing the steps, the value will come and replace there, and password value will replace there, and repeats. Same for the second set of data also same, and third set of data also. It will repeat for every set of data. You don't need to write even loops also. Automatically it will go and pick the data from every place. That's the how we are going to do a data driven testing with a data provider. How we are mapping a data provider and test method. Which keyword we are using?
Data provider equal to data provider name or data provider method.
That's the answer. Good. That's the data provider and test method. This is the keyword they will ask you interview question. How you can map a test method and data provider using data provider keyword. How can you map? Can you write the syntax? So @test bracket data provider keyword equal to data provider method name or data provider name, anyone. If you give a name, must to pass the name of the data provider. If you are not writing data provider name, just pass the method name, this method name. And another question they will ask here. So what type of data the data provider annotation will return? What type of data the data provider annotation will return? What is the data provider annotation return type?
Object array.
That's the answer. Super. Object array is in front of you. All other annotations have a void. All annotations has a void. But here, see, data provider is returning object two-dimensional array. This is another interview question. That's it. Any questions before going to the @rate parameters? Okay, let's start. @rate parameters. How we will use @rate parameters? So here we are passing directly. You are storing the data in the data provider annotation, then you are passing to your test method, right? I don't want to store in the XML file my data, but I want to pass from XML file. XML file is nothing but a suit file. What is the suit file? They will ask in the interview. What is the suit file syntax? Suit tag, name equal to suit name, test tag, name equal to test name. Then test tag inside, what will be there? Classes tag. Classes tag inside, class tag, name equal to package dot class name. One more class is there, right? One more class tag, name equal to package dot second class. One more class is there. Again below that, write a class tag, name equal to package dot class 3. Like that, you can include all the classes under classes tag. no more classes is there, then close the classes tag, close the test tag, close the suit tag. This is the XML suit file syntax. Again, I'm repeating, or let me write here, suit tag. So name equal to suit name. Then test tag, name equal to test name, test tag name. Then classes tag, so nothing will be there. Then class tag. So each class is represented with one class tag. Class name equal to package dot class 1. So class is ending. Second class tag, class name equal to package name dot class 2. Class tag is ending. Third class tag name attribute equal to package dot class 3, then enter. So all the classes are over. Then what we need to do? Close the classes tag. Then, so classes tag after, what is the tag we need to close? The test tag. Test tag. Then test tag after, what we need to close? The final one is suit tag. This is the your XML format, your suit file format. This is another mandatory interview question. What is your suit file format? So you have to give suit tag, name equal to suit name, test tag, name equal to test name, classes tag inside will include all the test ng classes. This the suit means a collection of test cases. See, class 1, class 2, class 3, and so on. N number of classes will include under classes tag. That means all the classes you are including one suit file, and you can run as a test ng suit. All the classes one by one will run. This is how to run as a suit. And then classes tag will end, then test tag will end, suit tag will end. And this is all the XML suit file syntax. Okay, now, so from this suit file, I want to pass my parameter values to my test method or any other annotation method. So I want to pass some annotation method requires a data. That data I can place inside my XML file. From there, I can read to my any annotation method. How is it possible? With @parameters annotation, you specify the parameter names in your class, your test ng class. Any annotation above, you write @parameters and parenthesis inside, you mention your parameter names. Then same that method, you will write a method, right? Annotation below method syntax will be there. The method name after parenthesis is the same parameter names you write, and those values we are going to supply from XML file, from this file. From this file, how you can pass? So that I'm going to explain. How can you supply? How can you declare this value parameters in the XML file? So we need to use a parameter tag in XML. So here there is no parameter tag now, right? I'll tell you where you need to include parameter tag. So parameter tag, and you have to use name attribute and value attribute. The parameter tag inside, you can include a name attribute and value attribute. That means parameter tag contains two attributes. One is name, another one is value. So I told you XML means customized tags can be created. HTML means fixed tags. Input to, select to, div, a tag, img tag, button tag, right? li tag, ul tag. These are the tags, right, in the HTML, fixed tags. But in the XML, it's not like that. You can create your own tags. That's how XML will allow us to create our customized tags. Now here, we need parameters. That's why we are giving a parameter tag. Then inside that parameter tag, name attribute, and you have to pass the name of your parameter that you declared in the testng class. Then value for this parameter, what is the value? The value you are declaring in the XML file. From XML file to your testng class, you are reading. Automatically it will read. So how we can do this? So let's see that. Parameter names are declared inside the class. Parameter names, not values. Parameter names you will declare inside the class and above the annotation method, and like this. Public class parameter demo, my class name, then @parameters, P capital. So every annotation, class naming conventions you have to follow. Remember that. @parameters, parenthesis. If more than one parameter is there, you have to put inside the curly braces. So inside the curly braces, even one also you have to put in curly braces. Curly braces, double quotes, parameter 1, comma, separate with comma, second parameter and first parameter, and parameter 2. Two parameters I want to have in my test method. So @test, public void test, same parameter name should come here. So this, what is the data type of this parameter? String. So data type parameter 1, comma, data type parameter 2. So we learned in the Java this how to write parameters for the particular method. So I don't need to tell this. So in the Java we learned this very, very clearly, how to declare a method with parameters. First data type, then parameter 1, comma, one more parameter is there, you have to separate with comma, data type parameter 2. This is how we will write, right? These parameter values we are supplying, we are giving in the testng.xml file. So then you can use this parameter, same parameter name you use here, parameter 2 you can use here. Then close this test method, right? Then how to create a testng.xml file for particular class. So you right click on this class and select the testng option, convert to testng, and give the suite name, test name, and XML file. Let me show you. So how to create an XML file, suite file. Right click, testng. How to create an XML file I'm showing for particular class. Convert to testng. Just select this. You right click any class. That class you want to include, or multiple classes you want to include. Select all those multiple classes. For example, I want to include all these classes in the suite. So now right click, testng, convert to testng. All these classes will come under classes tag. See that? So it will come, but so you give the suite name. You give the suite name, you give the test tag name, and click on finish. So all these classes will come under this classes tag will come here. So classes tag will come there. Okay. So that's this how can you create a suite file. Once you create a suite file, okay. So the parameters tag you need to include. The parameter tag we need to include suite tag, name equal to suite name, parallel equal to none. Another attribute also I'm introducing here, parallel attribute, none. I'm not running parallelly. Test tag, name equal to test name. Parameter tag, each parameter, one parameter tag you have to write. So how many parameters we declared here? 2 parameters. So that means 2 parameter tags you need to write in the XML file. Parameter tag, first test tag below you write a parameter tag. Parameter tag, name equal to parameter 1 and value equal to value of the parameter 1 you have to give here. Then second parameter you want to represent, another parameter tag you write, parameter tag and name equal to parameter 2 and value equal to value of the parameter 2. So then you're closing the parameter tag here itself. This is the close parameter tag. Then classes tag will start. Okay, these parameter values you want to supply to which classes? That classes you can include inside the classes tag with each class tag. Class tag name equal to package name dot class name 1. So these values, I declared these parameters in class 1 and I need to supply this parameter 1 value, parameter 2 value to my class 1, then class 2 also. And these values will be taken for these classes. Wherever the parameters you specified, those classes will take these values from XML file. So this is the how you can take parameters from XML file, how you can supply parameter values from XML file. Any queries? Instead of hard coding in your test case, you can store that data in the XML file and you can read to your test cases or any other annotation method. You can give the values. This is another interview question. How can you hide the data in the TestNG class? You don't want to give your values hard coded. You don't want to show data in the TestNG class. How you can hide? So take the parameters annotation, declare your parameters. You are not giving the data there and give in the XML file. That's a one way to hide the data, not providing that. Another way is you can store the data in the properties file. From there you can read. That's a second way. But we have in the TestNG nice one, right? You can do this way. At the red parameters annotation you can do, and you can read from XML file. So this is another question. How can you read data from XML file, XML suite file? So tell all this at the red parameters we need to use, then declare the parameters, then create a testng.xml, then declare the parameter tag in the test tag inside, test tag after, and each parameter one parameter tag, and parameter 1 value you can pass. So this is the testng.xml, how to supply data. Right now, if you don't have any questions, I'll move to @test.
Sir, actually, I have one doubt here. In classes tag, if we have one more class, that means third class, but I don't want to use that parameters, still we can declare inside classes tag.
Yeah, you can do that.
But we declared.
If we give parameters for that class, only it will take from XML file.
Okay.
If you are not giving, you are hard coding the data, and you can just you can pass there only.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you are not creating any parameter annotation, then it won't ask, right?
Yes.
Sir, I have a doubt. So if in case we have different parameter for different classes, so how are we going to do it?
Yeah, you can pass only for a particular class. Then what you can do? This is for entire test tag, right? Entire test tag. What you can do, that parameter can mention just above that class.
Okay.
Just above this class, you mention these parameters. Only for that class, it will be taken these parameter values for this class only. And you have one more class, just this class above, you declare parameter tag, and if this class, what parameters are there, it will be taken.
So this parameter will come under the classes tag itself then in
You
that
can
way?
write wherever you want. So now
Okay.
I have written for these two classes, my parameter tags are there. So that's why I declared little bit above these classes.
Mm.
These two classes need these values. That's why I mentioned. Suppose you
Okay.
want to specify for a particular class,
Mm.
just above this class tag, you write these parameter tags,
Okay.
particular class. And one more different class you need, again, this class tag above, write these parameter tags. So these class 2 will take those values and class 1 will take different values, whatever the values you are passing. But every class, different parameters you are passing, so it won't get any conflict. Because you are giving the parameter name, right? A different parameter name you will give each class, right? Same parameter means you don't need to declare it twice, right? Automatically you can, same values you can pass. But is it parameter name is different and values are different? You can pass for each class and just above that class you declare these parameters.
Okay.
Right? Any other questions?
Yeah, one more doubt, sir. So parallel equals to none. So is there any other value that we can provide in parallel?
Yes. You want to run parallel classes. Suppose I don't want to run class 1, class 2, class 3, class n, one after the other. I want to run these classes parallelly. Just mention here classes tag. Then all the classes will run parallelly. Maximum 5 classes will run parallelly. So TestNG will provide only 5 threads will invoke. Only 5 classes will run parallelly.
Okay.
Okay. So what will happen? For example, you're specifying the browser here, Chrome browser. So 5 Chrome instances will run. Each class will go and run on one Chrome instance. Class 1, one Chrome instance. Class 2, second instance. Class 3, third. Class 4, fourth. Class 5, fifth instance. After running all that 5 classes, if you have still more classes, again next set of 5 will run another 5 instances of Chrome browser. All will run parallelly. That's a parallel execution. I'll show you in the once we have continuing with the different topics. We have this scenario, parallel execution, how we can do with the TestNG. So why we need to do parallel execution? Why we need to run your test cases parallelly? What is the purpose of running classes parallelly?
Is it to speed up the execution?
Super, that's the answer. Save the time. You can save the time, right? You don't need to wait a long time. The execution will finish quickly and you can reduce the execution time. That's advantage parallel execution. Because so in the company, there are many test suites will be there. And each feature has some set of test cases. And you are occupying and running one after the other, and it will take a lot of time. What about other suites? And you have to configure the lot of machines in the grid. And how you can waste time running one after the other. And other person has to wait in queue. That's a waste of time, right? That's why people will run in parallel execution. That parallel execution can run to reduce the execution time. Okay, so that's all, and we'll discuss in the next when the parallel execution comes, and next @test method. Any other question before going for the @test annotation? Okay, so @test annotation. @test means you can mark that class or a method as a test case. The representation of @test means it is a test case. A test case means what? Steps will be there. Test case steps you will write. The code you will write that we did in the JUnit already. So @test public void method test parenthesis curly braces, only test steps you can write in the @test. @test is mandatory. Not all above annotations, before su2, before test2, before class2, after test2, after su2, and after method2. after class. So these are all not mandatory, but @test is the only mandatory annotation in the TestNG and J class. Others are optional. Others, why you need to use? To organize your code, to set preconditions for your test cases, you will use other annotations. When you want to execute each piece of code, you are setting with all the before annotations. So after complete your code execution, what you want to do with the after annotations you can do. Post actions you can do with after annotations. That's it. Other than that, the test cases will be declared with this @test annotation. Okay. Now, what is the different keywords you can use with @test? So we already used @test parenthesis data provider keyword. So @test and data provider keyword. What it is doing? Data provider keyword. The name of the data provider for this test method. You are mapping the data provider annotation and test method with this keyword, data provider keyword. See that data all lowercase, provider P capital, no space. So the syntax is how you will use this is to map the data provider annotation and test method. You're using data provider keyword. @test parenthesis data provider equal to data provider method name or data provider name you can pass. So that's how you can use data provider keyword. Next, depends on groups. The list of groups this method depends on. You want to set this @test method, this D group method depends on some other group, more group or a regression group or a sanity group test cases. It depends on this method depends on those group test cases. That means depends on group means first this group will execute and all test cases of that group are passed. Then this D group test method will execute. If any test case fails here and this D group test method is not going to execute, it will come under skipped count. It falls under skipped count. This @test method falls under skipped count. That's a depends on groups. So this test method depends on this group. We are setting the dependency with the depends on groups. There is a one more keyword depends on methods. Depends on methods. The list of methods this method depends on. The list of methods this method depends on. So @test parenthesis depends on methods equal to method name 1 comma method name 2. So this D method depends on method name 1 and method name 2 or method name only one method also you can write, not necessary two methods to write. Okay, before executing this D method, first these methods will execute, and if these methods are successfully ran, then this D method will execute. If any one method fails here, then D method will skip. It won't execute. That's a dependency you are setting. So you are telling clearly this D method depends on method 1 and method 2. You are setting the dependency among test methods. This is another method. This is another test method. Just method name you are specifying. You created on the same class. And method name 1 and method name 2 already created. Different test methods. And this method is a dependent for this D method. And D method should run, you are telling clearly, only after running method name 1 and method name 2. Then only run D method. That you are setting. How you can set? Using depends on methods keyword. So the list of methods, the current test method depends on. So this D method depends on these methods. Next, always run. Always run. If you set to true, this test method will always be run, even if it depends on method fails also. Suppose my method 1 and method 2 are running. So method 2 is failed, but my page is loaded. For this D method execution, all conditions are available. I don't want to skip, right? I can continue my D method execution. Such cases, what you will do, and put here a comma and write always run equal to true. Even the depends on method fails also. You want to run that method, you can write always run equal to true, comma, depends on methods, this T method. If T method fails also, this T1 method will execute. Why? You have set always run equal to true. If you are not setting always run equal to true, then this T1 will fail because T method is failed. T method fails means T1 is not going to execute. T1 will go to skipped count. It will skip entire test case. If T method fails. But if you set always run equal to true, even the T method fails also, the T1 method will execute. T1 method will execute. Okay, public void T1. That's always run. You want to run always, whatever the conditions happen, and then you can use always run keyword. Not only for this test method, you can use for any other annotation also. If some annotations are not running, you can use always run and you set it to true. That annotation method will execute always. Next, description. The description for the current test method, you want to write small description what this method is doing, and you can use a description keyword @test description equal to write small description about the test method, and enabled keyword. So whether methods on this class or method are enabled, you can use enabled keyword @test enabled equal to false. So this test method will be skipped automatically if you write like this. So how to skip a test case interview question? @test enabled equal to false. If you set, that test method will be skipped. That test method will be skipped automatically. And expected exceptions. So not that much important, but let's discuss. The list of exceptions that a test method is expected to throw. The WebDriver exceptions I have explained you, right? No such element exception, timeout exception, stale element reference exception, and element not interactable exception, and no windows exception, no window available exception, right? No frame available exception. So these are all exceptions, different exception classes. Those are all exception classes. And you're expecting some exceptions for this test method. And if no exception are different than the one you specified in the list, you're specifying the exception classes here. And other than the specified one this test method is throwing, then this test method will be marked as a failure. So you want to specify the expected exceptions only this test method has to throw, not other one. If other one it will throw and mark the test method as a failure, then you can use expected exceptions. What exceptions you are expecting? @test parenthesis expected exceptions equal to, you specify. So no such element exception or stale element reference exception or element not interactable exception or no window session exception, whatever it is, the exception classes you can specify. WebDriver exception or timeout exception. So all the exceptions you can specify by separating with comma. So to specify particular exception, this method is going to throw, you can do with expected exceptions. And another one is groups. The list of groups this class or method belongs to. Okay, this test method belongs to which group? And this class belongs to which group? And you want to categorize, you want to group the test cases. Then you can use groups keyword. If you don't have a grouping concept, suppose you have a 200 test cases and some of them are end-to-end test cases, some of them are functional test cases, some of them are regression and smoke test cases. So if you don't categorize these test cases, so all the test cases will be considered as a one category only, right? And then tomorrow your manager will ask, run only smoke test cases. Then how can you run? Tomorrow you will ask, run only regression test cases. How can you run? And tomorrow you will ask again, run only end-to-end test cases. How can you run that if you are not categorizing? So that categorization you can do while designing the test case itself. You can tell, okay, this test case belongs to this smoke group, and this test case belongs to this end-to-end test case. This test case belongs to this regression test case. So that's how we can categorize a groups keyword. So how to group it? And this is the one, and at the test groups equal to curly braces inside, write your group name. Generally in the testing we have a smoke, regression, end-to-end test cases, functional test case, like that. You give a group names, or you can give your custom group name also. It's not necessary you have to give only this these keywords. I'm just giving an example. What are the groups regularly for test cases, how we will use. Right? Next, one group you can create. You want to specify multiple groups, and you can, this is the example for this group at the test groups equal to smoke group, comma, priority equal to 1, description. So multiple keywords you can use by separating with the comma. Multiple keywords for that at the test method you can use. How you can separate? By comma. So each keyword after keyword name, then the value. Mapping. This is a map, right? Key value. So key and value. Key value. So you're passing key value pair in the at the rate test parenthesis inside. So that's how we can group it. Multiple groups, how to do that? This is the one syntax. At the rate test parenthesis groups equal to curly braces group name 1 comma group name 2 you can give. Okay, you have declared the groups. You have groups in your classes. Many classes you declared all the test cases, some test cases as a grouping, like smoke, sanity, regression, like that. Then how you can run only particular group, and this is the way how to run. We can include and exclude groups through testng.xml. Through testng.xml, you can specify which group you want to run, which group you don't want to run. After grouping in Selenium, we can specify the include and exclude tags in the testng.xml. Tags, include a tag and exclude a tags you have to use. Include a tags tells you which group you want to execute. This include and exclude tag is not only for groups, you can use for methods of particular class. You can control your methods also, which methods you want to run, which methods you don't want to run from particular class. Now here we are using for groups. Include a tag tells you to the testng.xml which group you want to execute. Exclude a tag tells you to the testng.xml which group you want to skip, you don't want to run. That's the exclude tag. So this is the syntax of groups suit file, how you can create a suit tag name equal to suit groups, parallel equal to none, and test tag name equal to test group, and then write the groups tag, run tag, include name smoke, exclude name regression. Explicitly, you don't need to write exclude. So automatically regression, if you don't specify, automatically that will be excluded. Then close the run tag, close the groups tag, then close the classes tag. And then, classes tag you are opening here. Then these groups are available in which classes? That classes you specify under classes tag. The class tag name equal to package dot class name. Class tag name equal to package name dot class name. Then close the classes tag, close the test tag, close the suit tag. So this is the how you can specify tags, which one you want to include, which one you don't want to run. So that is the groups how to create. If you have groups, you have to create a suit file. Include groups, run, exclude, include tags. Then invocation count. This is another interview question. How can you invoke your test cases? Invocation count means the number of times this method should be invoked. The number of times this method should be invoked. Number of times the same test method you want to invoke multiple times. You want to run same test case multiple times. Then you can use invocation count keyword. At the rate test invocation count equal to 3. The question they will ask in the interview is, how can you repeat one test case multiple times? Using invocation count. So at the rate test invocation count equal to 3. I'm just giving a number 3. It's up to you how many times you want to invoke this test method. So count 1, count 2, count 3. 3 times the same method will repeat. One round of first all steps are over. Second time it will start and execute one more time, same test method. Third time. Like that, how many times you give here. So that many times that same test method will repeat. That's a invocation count. If you want to repeat one test case multiple times, we can use invocation count keyword. The success percentage not that much important. We won't use, mainly framework people will use this. So success percentage is the success expected from this test method. How much percentage you're expecting from this test method? 100% or 80% or 75%. You can specify the percentage, but not that much important, the success percentage. And another one, timeout. So the maximum number of milliseconds this test should take to complete the execution. So you can specify timeout. At the rate test bracket timeout equal to 3000 milliseconds. I'm telling this test method it should finish in 3 seconds only. It's up to you. You can increase the time also, okay? Not necessarily you have to give a 3 seconds. Just as it's a value. I'm just giving one random value. You can give your own time. So that many specified seconds, the test case should finish. If not finished, what will happen? The test case will be marked as a failed. So basically what this keyword is helping us is, and within this time, the test method has to finish, and maybe you can pass this output to next test method. So that's how we can use this at the rate test, and then timeout you can specify. The performance you can calculate of that particular feature, particular test case. Particular area is finishing within the specified time or not. You can calculate with this timeout. Thread pool size. The size of the thread pool for this test method. The method will be invoked for multiple threads as specified by invocation count. That's a thread pool size means. Thread pool size means if you give three threads will be invoked. That's a thread pool size. Maximum I told, right? 5 is the thread pool size. So priority, the priority for this test method, lower priorities will be scheduled first. So in the JUnit, we don't have prioritization of your test cases, right? And this is the keyword will help us in the TestNG. You can prioritize your test cases one after the other. You can run. You can set order for your test cases. Which order you want to execute, you can set using priority keyword. At the test priority equal to 1, public void T1. T1 method will execute first. At the test priority equal to 2, and L1 will execute second. So this is the how you can set the order of your test methods. If you have multiple test methods in the TestNG class, you can order them with the priority keyword. Okay, that's how to prioritize your test cases. And here in the priority, a lot of questions they will ask. Can we give a negative values? Only positive values will accept, or negative values also? Yes, you can give positive and negative values. Another question. First question is, how can you prioritize the test cases? Using priority keyword, you can prioritize. That's the answer you can give. Second question. How can you, can we give negative values for this priority? Yes, you can pass negative values. Negative values is the less right than positive values. So negative values related test method will execute first. Then it will positive values related. This is a smaller negative value is smaller than positive value. So smallest value will schedule first. That test method will execute first. That's a priority. How can you prioritize your test cases? And then how to specify the particular class methods using include and exclude tags. So we have seen groups, how to include and exclude. Can we mention particular class methods also you can restrict with include and exclude tags? Yes, we can do that. So this is the how we can do with include and exclude tags. Only particular methods of that class you can include, particular methods if you don't want you can exclude them from particular class. So how can we do that? Let's see the suit file syntax. Suit name equal to name of the suit, test name equal to regression1, and groups run exclude name broken test. I'm excluding the broken test related groups and including check-in test related. So that's a groups related, right? For groups also use it exclude and include. The classes, now classes tag. Class tag name equal to, this is my individual methods test. In this class, I want to include one test method and exclude other test method. So how can you do that? Methods tag include name test method, exclude name test2 method. So I'm saying you exclude the test2 method and include the test method. That means from this class, you can run only test method, not test2 method. That's how to include and exclude from particular class the test methods. And or any methods you can include and exclude, and close the methods tag, close the class tag. So these are all particular class related. How to include and exclude methods of particular class. Then remaining you can continue. Class tag name equal to package.class independent test. Then close the classes tag, close the test tag, close the suit tag. So this is all the theory part. And tomorrow I'll show you the code we are going to do tomorrow, and then reports. So I'll explain the reports. So what is the importance of reports? Reports helps you to identify the status of each test case, pass, fail, skip. This you can find out with the reports. And using reports, we can calculate time taken by the each test case, how much time it is taking. You can calculate this return of investment. You can calculate with these reports, and you can share automation reports with your team or with the clients or with your manager. So what is the status of your testing progress? They can see also whether you are progressing or not. They want to check, and so you can share that report, and you run your test cases, and that report you can share it with your managers, whoever you want share. So that's different types of reports we have is 3 types of reports you will get. Default test.html, emailable-report.html, index.html. These are the 3 reports you can get from the TestNG framework, right? So that's all for the day. Theory is over and